So I'm coming to you from Somerville in my daughter's bedroom, which gets the best Wi-Fi in the house. Everyone for joining. Today I'm going to talk to you about bridging the gap between finance and BI with DBT. For those of you who don't sit quite as close to finance as we do, GAAP is an acronym for Generally Accepted Accounting Principles. According to Wikipedia's disambiguation page, it is also a Gothic demon capable of inciting love and hate. I thought that was interesting. So, hold up. Keynote, one sec. I'm going to just jump out of this and I'm going to move the little thumbnail out of the way so I can actually see what I'm doing. And then I'm going to hop back in and I'm going to hit play. Ta-da. Okay. No. Oh, technical. Oh, there we go. I just have to click. Sorry, I'm not super technical. Probably a bad pitch for what I'm about to say here. So we're a video hosting company for marketers. We're pretty mature, founded in 2009, still relatively small at around 112 employees. And I wanted to give a shout out to the fact that the business intelligence team where I'm sitting is hiring. The position is listed as a data engineer, but we actually wanted to list it as an analytics engineer. We got some internal pushback, so data engineer it is, but we are really kind of a full stack analytics engineer type person. And just one plug, I'm about to jump in and talk about accounting for 15 minutes. That does not represent what we do on a day-to-day basis. This has kind of been something that we solved a while ago and are happily doing more interesting data-related problems now. Okay, so this is our stack. Our main ETL provider is Fivetran. We use Stitch a little bit too. We move all of that into Redshift, which I appreciate somewhat past, but I've still been happy with our instance. From there, DBT is the modeling layer that sits in mode. Obviously, today I'm going to be focusing on DBT. So a little bit about how we use DBT at Wistia. I would say that we're not doing anything too exotic. We're using it in kind of the recommended ways. It works really well. It saves us a bunch of time, and we're really big fans. So that includes codifying business logic, defining metrics and dimensions, marketing attribution. We've got Snowplow coming in via Fivetran, Snowplow data coming in via Fivetran, and then also some revenue recognition stuff, which is what I am going to talk about today. So let me just paint you a picture of what life was like before DBT at Wistia. So our system for revenue was imperfect, to say the least. So we had a file for finance that we handed over. I love that actually we had version control as they were commented out versions of the previous queries underneath the queries that finance was supposed to use. So we had solved that problem, I guess. Then finance ran the queries against the AppDB. They downloaded all of the results as a CSV and then imported them into Excel, where Excel magic happened, as it usually does. So lots of issues with that. Kind of summarize them all as creating this is miasma of uncertainty around our revenue numbers. So that included a lack of visibility. Really, it was just finance and what they were doing in these Excel spreadsheets. It was only visible to finance what they were doing in these Excel spreadsheets, so we didn't have the ability into the modeling that we wanted. At their level that they were looking at, we were not able to connect the revenue. People were actually using the product and kind of create insights from there. We, as BI, were looking at revenue in more of a cash basis. They were obviously doing accruals and had these incompatible worldviews that were just slightly off from each other. And whenever two people presenting numbers that should be around the same and they're different, it just wastes so much time trying to track down what the differences are. So we had that issue. And then the way that we had been looking at stuff on BI, the revenue history was kind of mutable in the fact that we were pulling data from these CRUD tables that didn't have a sense of kind of flickering. If somebody canceled and then uncanceled and then canceled and then uncanceled, we were really just looking at the current state of. So then 2017, summer 2017, so almost 3 years ago, ball moment, Paul, one of our former team members, made the first commit to our DBT repo, which was excellent. So nowadays, this is the graph for all revenue tagged Models, not much to glean from this view as it stands. Just want to point out that, it's multi-generational, and we have a lot of kind of one-to-many and many-to-one relationships. So really a great use case for DBT, where we're able to recycle logic and kind of sequence how we want things loaded. Let me take this graph and turn it on its head. So the left side of this graph is now going to be at the top here, and walk you through kind of a simplified overview of what the logic that we implemented was. So starting at the top level with orders and what I'm calling accounting events. This step is really about kind of preparing to extract insights, and then also defining a common ancestor with the way that the accounting team or the finance team was using their view of the revenue data. So we basically start with a table like this, where we have a bunch of orders. There's some ID for them, what account they're associated with, and then the price. And then we want to amortize that. We want to strip off sales tax. We do some other kind of cleaning up transformations on the raw orders data. And then there, we're able to start creating balance sheet entries. So this is the language that the finance team speaks. And so this is the accounting events that we move to. And so this allows us to define things like accounts receivable, cash deposits, and then the raw revenue, which is what we're kind of interested from an insights perspective. Having this whole view allows us to put this into mode, and then our finance team actually interacts with this. They were close collaborators in this project, and they're able to then say, oh yes, we see exactly what you're seeing. We now have one source of truth, which is excellent. So from there, we're just kind of where we were previously, but we have a great foundation. So now we want to add the business logic. This slide, making this slide, it was a moment of like pause where it's like, hey, this is not a slide I would have made 5 years ago, but I'm really happy I made it today with this great clip art of gears in somebody's brain. So this step is all about adding insights. So the type of segmenting that we're interested in the acquisition type, whether or not somebody came in through a self-serve channel or sales. We have 3 kind of customer types or plan types, the Pro, Advanced, Premium. We want to be able to segment along those. And then we also sell a whole slew of products, including videos, bandwidth, and transcripts. And we want to be able to break things out by those dimensions as well. So after doing all that, this is kind of level 1 of the insights. We now have monthly views broken down by accounts. We can join that with other information we have about accounts to get insights. And we're breaking it down by kind of product type and organization and splitting out the revenue. So next, we want to get some more insights from that. Once you've done something, you want to try to extract as much value from it as possible. So we just are basically taking month-over-month derivatives on all the tables we've generated, performing these additional transformations to get some more insights out. And that allows us to dig into churn, new versus returning customers. Like I said, we had this flickering problem in the past, and kind of digging into internal movements within the business in terms of downgrades and upgrades. Just as an example, this would be like a cut from that. So we've now added this additional column of change type, which talks about, or which answers the question of, was it a downgrade, upgrade, in addition, a churn, those points that I just mentioned in the previous slide. So finally, that brings us to the end of the pipeline, which is the budget views. And this section is really about meeting finance on their home turf. Another excellent selection of clip art there with that old school calculator. So semi-annually, the finance team, senior management team get together and they create a budget for the next 6 months. And all of that happens in Excel. And we really want to be in a position where we can compare the data that they have created in Excel with what we casting that we do. And DBT helps a lot for that as well. So we are able to take that Excel spreadsheet and we add it into the warehouse via DBT seed. And then we're able to generate views corresponding, actually, I guess maybe semi-annually, I should have said in the second line there, but we're able to create views corresponding to the particular metrics that are in each of these budgets. The metrics that they're budgeting on might change from half to half. And then those same views serve as the basis for our forecasting. So we're able to use, everybody's working with the same data set to do their projections, their forecasting, and their comparisons, which really put us in a good place. So this kind of state, something along these lines. So we have some of the columns I thought previously, and then we're just appending columns for the actual budgets and the other forecasting that gets done. And so this has really helped us have a much clearer view of what's going on with our revenue and to be able to extract a lot of insights with regards to particular customer segments. So there's some things I think that are really cool about this particular subset of our DBT models that lean on some of the functionality of DBT. So testing, financial data, you want to make sure that everything is self-consistent. So we're able to test this with DBT, which is great. This actually has allowed us to do some commission verification work as well. We use HubSpot, go Ashley, as our CRM, and we're pulling in the HubSpot data via Fivetran as well. And so we're able to compare amounts listed on HubSpot deals with what we actually see in the database, and we create a big list. And so that's helped out our sales ops team and our finance team with kind of being able to verify deal amounts and do the commission work that they do. We have some means of generating revenue that are still like paper to paper. So we type up a doc and mail it to somebody, and then they mail us a check. And we really want those to be in our warehouse as well. So we've actually got our finance team entering these via GitHub, our DBT repo for a DBTC file, which is awesome too. And then how am I doing on time? I forgot to set my timer. I spent all this time. Okay, great. Well, then I will also talk about this linear extrapolation bit. So we do our monthly reviews at the start of the month, and then we decided we wanted to get a jump making decisions, and so we bumped them to a week before the start of the month. So no months have closed in all of our views, and this led to all sorts of issues in meetings where people were trying to do mental math to extrapolate the things to the end of the month. In DBT, we've built these views for all of these metrics to basically do a simple linear extrapolation to the end of the month. So now we're able to present like month to date and end the month forecast for all of these things. It has just saved a lot of time in meetings so that people aren't doing mental math. So that's been great too. Let's see. To summarize, where have we arrived? So now DBT revenue implementation, we have arrived at data utopia. So we have visibility across the company now into our revenue. Wistia has a very internally transparent approach to revenue, so everything just sits in mode, which I think is great. Revenue and product data synergy. I forget exactly what I meant when I wrote this, but I think this is about being able to get insights from the revenue based on product usage. We have a single accepted view of the world, so there's no more of this trying to chase down the discrepancies between the finance view and our view. And now that we've moved into this event-based or order-based version of revenue, we're not relying on those CRUD tables anymore, so we have an immutable version of history, which is always important. So with that, I'd like to say thanks and ask if there are any questions.
Thank you so much. That was amazing. I'm going to kick us off with a question, or just I had to look up the word miasma. I don't know how to say that. So Julian in the chat was like, speaking to my soul. And I was like, I have no idea what this word means, but now I've got to learn a new word. So that's cool. I am so impressed.
Just if a deep take on that. So that's actually a cartoon of a cholera outbreak in like the 1800s. And that was the miasma of cholera spreading over the battlefield.
Might be too close to home.
I know. I didn't even think about that. I know. Oh, geez. Not sensitive. Sorry.
We'll forgive. Cool. So I'm so impressed that a team has solved their accounting problems. It's usually like one of these things that, you get into the data team and spend months and months trying to meet your accounting team halfway. So I'm going to go one step away from that and say, now that problem is solved, because I know how much of a huge headache that can be, what are some of the other things that your team is working on at the moment?
Oh, geez. Yeah. Let's see. So we're always trying to improve our marketing attribution and get that pulled into DBT. We have some non-DBT work that we're really excited about too. Is that fair game for this conversation?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So In the last year, we got the Google Cloud provider Spark working on our Kubernetes cluster. And so we've been able to launch Spark jobs onto Kubernetes, which is really like game changer for our ability to process large amounts of data quickly in a very kind of on-call way. So we don't have a running Spark. We don't have a standing Spark cluster, which is great. And so we've been working a lot to parse CDN logs. So we are a video host. That means people have to stream the videos over the internet. That happens via content distribution networks, which is where the bandwidth comes from. And so, yeah, we've just been crushing through a lot of data with Spark and pulling out a lot of insights from there.
Very cool. I'm going to give a quick plug to my own event. We're just about to announce an office hours in 2 weeks on using dbt and Spark. We're going to have a couple of experts on the call. So if anyone is interested in Spark and whether they should be using it, we're going to discuss some of those things in a few weeks. We've got a question from Jacob Mulligan. Jacob, are you able to introduce yourself and ask your question?
Yeah. Hey, thanks for the demo. I lead data at a healthcare startup in Boston called Firefly Health. We use Looker, Snowflake, and Fivetran, and we'll probably be adding dbt to the stack pretty soon. I'm curious why you use Stitch, as well as I've always kind of seen them as very similar tools.
Yeah, so our usage of Stitch might be antiquated. I think that as the products have developed, there's been more overlap between them. At the time that we started using Fivetran did not offer some of the integrations that we wanted for some of the SaaS tools that we used. We also internally really like the open source nature of the Singer project and all of the Singer taps. And so are interested in supporting that as well.
Very cool.
Thanks.
Cool. We've got a question from Benson who says that his toddler is wreaking havoc at the moment, so can't unmute himself. So that's absolutely okay. So I'll read the question out. Curious to hear a little bit more of going from a cash basis to accrual basis. Did finance have to get involved to generate a wide array of entries for the conversion? And how was that? If so, how was that coordinated?
No, so finance was already, when we did this, finance was already using an accrual basis. And so it was the BI team was kind of behind, and we hadn't done things in dbt, and we were doing the easy thing, which was just to sum the cash every month. So we coordinated with finance. Another thing that came in there was whether or not, when you recognize the revenue, so do you recognize the revenue when the order is created, when it's been paid, when that money actually lands in your bank account? So that was part of the coordination with finance too, was just coming up with kind of consistent standards around that for various payment methods.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think I did like an accounting 101 in college, and it paid dividends when I became a data analyst. So if anyone's working with accounting teams, it's actually definitely worth just doing some basic accounting to, get a bit of user empathy when converting those things into SQL and dbt models. Cool. I think that's it for questions. Chris is also in the Events Boston channel, so if you have any further questions, feel free to post in there.